How's my hair?
Pretty
Not
good.
great. Not great.
Hey, Jimmy Turner. Jimmy Turner. Jimmy Turner. Jimmy Turner.
Is that a combination of Jimmy Neutron and Timmy Turner?
Yeah.
I am kind of those things. What's up, everybody? Welcome to this week's episode of Hardly Working, the show about life, love, and labor, hosted by and for the couples who work, play, and stay together. I'm SP.
And I'm Kelly.
And we are here for another episode.
What was another?
Another episode. Sorry, I got Timmy Turner and Jimmy Neutron on the brain. I'm cartoony today. I'm cartoony.
Yeah, I'll take it.
Okay, well, good, because that's what you get.
It's what get.
That's what we're doing.
But yes, we are here for another episode of Hardly Working.
206, 16 episodes in. Thank you for coming along on the ride with us. Hopefully, we can... You hurt yourself?
I just cracked my elbow, but it hurt more than I expected. I was just stretching and it cracked. Sorry.
Oh.
Thanks for coming along with us to hear my crack
Thanks
of my elbow. You're welcome.
That's right. Come and check out my wife's cracks on...
Hardly Working.
Wow. How was your week, babe?
Pretty good. I'm trying to remember the entirety of the week. Things I remember, though,
Yes.
spending time with you.
Oh, we do that every day.
So we started a new video game. If you
Heck
don't know this
yeah.
about us, we love playing video games together. We've played Borderlands, all of them. 1, 2, 3, 4. There's no 4.
Pre-sequel.
Teeny Tina's,
We
all
played
the
all
things.
those games a million
multiple
times.
times. And we've tried a couple different games that we haven't really loved, but we retried Gears of War.
Yes,
Is
Gears
that what
of
it-
War. Yeah, I won't explain Gears of War, but I started playing Gears of War in college, and I was telling Kelly this. I was like, oh, I played this years ago with my best friend at the time, and now I'm
Yeah.
playing it again with my current best friend.
That's me.
It was really special. I really liked it.
Yeah.
We blew through
The first one.
the entire first game, which isn't that long, but we did it all in one sitting. No,
Yeah.
not one sitting, but one day.
One day.
Which was really
It
impressive.
was really fun.
We started Gears 2 recently.
It's pretty good.
And we're pretty excited. If you're not a video game person, I know this is not exciting, but part of the play part of our life is games.
Yeah, finding hobbies that you can do together and spending time. And it's one way we can spend time together and we communicate and have fun and laugh and joke about it later.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Well, I think what's fun is that we haven't played this game before, so we're discovering it. Even though, I have played it, but it feels brand new.
Yeah.
But it's not like when we play Borderlands or something when we're like, I know, okay, it's this again. Yeah.
I remember this mission. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So that's been really fun. We went to see your friend in his first performance at the Groundlings as part of the Sunday cast company. That's what it's called. It was a C. I knew. So that was cool.
Yeah, I definitely want to talk about that really quick. Shout out to Evie, who just got called up to Sunday Company at the Groundlings, which is a very difficult thing to do. That's right. Just the one step until you get to main company. Most people don't get to any of that.
Yeah, and people that came out of the Groundlings are people like Lisa Kudrow,
Will Ferrell, Melissa McCarthy, Kristen Wiig,
Flo, if you know who that is. Don't know her name, so sorry. From Progressive.
Edie Patterson.
Edie Patterson from Righteous Gemstones and a ton of other things.
Chris Parnell, tons of great people. So I was just super pumped for him, super proud of him. He did a great job. One of the sketches that he wrote and performed was my absolute favorite sketch of the night, the reincarnation sketch. I loved everythting about it. It was awesome.
So if you have an open Sunday, you should go check him out at the Groundlings. It's really good. If you haven't been, you should go. Comedy. It's fun.
Yeah, it's fun. And it kind of takes a lot to get us out of the house.
Yeah.
And I know we were like, oh my gosh, we've had a nice chill day. We should just stay. But I'm glad we went, not only just to support him, but for me, it's a constant reminder, especially because I work a lot. I don't always, I put out a lot, but I don't take in a lot. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So seeing people perform is actually something that is really life-giving to me and like really fills me up and gets me excited. Like I may have said it on the show before, but for instance, like the times we've been in London and we've been walking places and there's like street performers.
Yeah.
And you're like, this guy or girl, it's usually a guy, really knows how to engage a crowd and get audience participation. And, ooh, I love this, and I'm going to steal that, and whatever it is. Not steal, but, take that and craft it to what I do.
Yeah.
It's just, it's motivating, it's inspiring, and it's awesome. And that's what this was, too. It reminded me that when people ask me what I do, I usually tell them I work in entertainment. because there's a lot of different aspects of what I do,
Yeah.
and everything's so different. I remember watching some of the sketches, and I was like, oh yeah, like this person's got a catchphrase. Like that was the choice they did in this skit. This person has like a limp or something that's, you know, a characteristic, a physical attribute that you see. There was just so much that you go like, you would never think of that unless you were doing improv or doing sketch comedy. And it was mostly sketch comedy that night. But every element, like even for me, there's an improv part of what I do sometimes. There's a solely musical DJing part of what I do.
Yeah.
There is a solely hosting part of what I do. And there's so many things in between. And there's commercials and there's all this stuff. But all of those things, while they fall under the realm of like, entertain me, they all have such different skills. And it's so fun to see, in the same way that you could have the best pitcher in Major League Baseball and he's going to be the worst batter on the team.
Yeah.
Like just because you're an excellent person in this specific area doesn't mean that you've got everything figured out. And it's so fun to just be reminded of the nuances of different parts of entertainment, and specifically comedy. I love comedy. And then the last thing I'll say about that is about Groundlings rather, is it's really fun to see people who stand out and you're like, that person is excellent. And there was a handful of people where you're like, yep, that person lives and breathes comedy or entertaining.
Oh yeah, and you knew.
It's just like, you know, to go back to sports. So we just saw our kid play soccer this weekend, and it's pretty easy to pick up on like, oh, here's the 3 kids that are like really excelling.
Yeah.
And the rest. But it happens in live performance too, and in theater and comedy, all that stuff. You're like, this is all good. And then you're like, whoa. There's a couple people that were whoas.
Yeah.
And it's just so fun to see that. It's fun to see someone who's great at their craft and you can lose who the person is because they just become a character.
Yeah.
So that was really, really, really fun for me.
It was fun.
And it sounds like you had a great time too.
I did have a great time. I was telling you after the show, maybe I'll elaborate on more. I think for me, some of the first intro to like seeing live comedy was the Groundlings with you, but we've seen a ton since then. And I am realizing that sketch comedy, while funny and entertaining, isn't like the laugh out loud funny for me. I laugh out loud more when we go see like stand-up comedians or like shows like that. But I guess that's kind of the point. Is the whole point is just supposed to make you laugh, and they're doing that. But sketch comedy is interesting. I was telling you, I was like, I watch TV and shows that I like, that if I want to laugh or if I want to be entertained, I'm probably just going to watch a show that I really enjoy and like, with people that I enjoy and like, and characters that I like, versus going out and watching it. Because the truth is, while it was, pardon me, sorry, everyone at home, while it was fun and funny, not every skit or sketch hit.
Yeah, of course.
Like some of them I was like, all right, like, it's tired, you know, or I don't know that that's like what you were trying to go for. Right. And there was one in particular where like the guy, the whole bit of it was that he was kind of mean, but then was like, no, like I really care about you. And then he like started crying, like fake crying, which got really big laughs. But I was telling you, I was like, it's really hard for me to engage and think that's funny, because I don't think that's funny, because my brain just goes to like, man, that's really sucks that that's your life. Right. Like I can't get lost in the 2-minute skit or sketch, you know, of like, it's supposed to be funny. I'm just like, that's not the type of humor that I find funny.
Yeah. You are more of a stand-up comedy gal.
That's okay.
Which is great. Yeah, for me,
I did enjoy it though.
Yeah. I'm not a huge sketch comedy person either. I'm not a big SNL person, but I do love improv.
Yeah.
And I think the reason for that, let me back up. I do love stand-up. I grew up watching stand-up. Most of my on-stage performance style is due to watching stand-ups.
Yeah.
I love how they craft these jokes and how they've got it down, and it's amazing. Improv, I love because it's the beauty of it's happening now, and that's it.
Yeah.
There was no plan. It didn't go as well as I thought it would when I wrote it in my apartment. There's none of that, because you're taking audience suggestions and you're making comedy from it, which was like, there was one sketch. Let's go ahead and drop that.
Was going to happen. I'm so sorry. My cup got stuck to my coaster.
There was one sketch where this guy was wearing a wig and it started falling off. The sketch was great, period.
So funny,
but as his wig started falling off, it started becoming even more funny because
he was playing into it.
It's just like, I don't know about anybody else, but my favorite things from like SNL or even movies is the bloopers.
Yeah.
Like I love seeing people break character because they are like, it is so funny to them that that they can't even contain it. And then you're like, oh my gosh, we're all a part of this rather than just like watching it happen. So I do love improv for that reason, because it's just happening. It's happening right in front of your eyes. It could be terrible, could be stupid.
Yeah.
But usually it's like, oh, we all experienced something that you couldn't have experienced anywhere else. Although I will say this, Ben Schwartz and Thomas Middleditch did a really great job taking improv and capturing it and putting it on Netflix for those
so
three.
Good.
Called Middleditch and Schwartz, I think is what it's called.
Yeah. 3 episodes.
3 episodes, and it's awesome. If you are into comedy, I'm sure we've talked about this before. If you are into improv, it's definitely worth watching. But with that being an exception to the rule, I think that that's the reason why I love improv so much. Anyway, speaking of entertainment and improv in people in my class, I had my last class of this 6-week on-camera course.
Aw, and yay!
Yes.
It's both.
So I don't want to belabor all of that stuff, but it was such a great time. This teacher, Robert Davanzo, is incredible. I've mentioned it before. I read about him in Jenna Fisher, Pam Halpert from The Office, her book. And boy, it was... I talked about it last night with they kind of went through the class and they're like, how was the class? Did it meet your expectations or whatever? And I told them, I was like, in the midst of a 6-week period where like things both personally and professionally for me have been going really, really well. Even if I can put my anxiety to the side, I can go like, this has been a great month and a half or whatever. I told them still this 3 hours on Monday with this group of people is still my highlight every single week. And so that's really what it was for me. So I just wanted to kind of celebrate / pseudo slightly mourn the end of that. But I will be jumping back into some other course over there.
As you should.
Yes. And it was really, really good. I got to do an audition in a scene yesterday that I was very proud of. And thank you for being my reader and helping me out. And it was great.
Happy to be your inspiration.
Always.
Your muse.
The scene was about divorce, but...
Yeah, but it was. But what I mean by that is that when you got home, you talked to me about how, like, yes, I was talking to you in it, though.
Yeah, that's true. That's definitely true.
Yeah.
It was good times. Anything else from the week before we jump in?
Yes, I have 2 more things.
You have 2 more things?
And then we keep going. Yeah, I know. Hear me, all of you haters out there. I don't even care.
Oh my gosh. Do you think we have haters who hate watch and hate listen to the show?
No, but I think I have people that hate the fact that the day after Halloween, people decorate for Christmas, because I am one of those people that decorates for Christmas early. So you better believe that our Christmas tree is up in the house.
It's up. We need to, if you're watching it, we'll give you a little picture or something here. Because it's not just the tree that's making this place feel good.
Yeah, I added I upgraded some of our stuff last year when like Christmas trees went on sale, and then also this year. But I did, my new favorite Christmas decoration is I bought like those Harry Potter style candles that like hang in the Great Hall, and I paired it with some garland, and it's like my favorite part. And you turn it on with a wand. It's very fun.
You know what? In fact, let's cut to right now you giving us a little tour of not the Christmas tree, not just the Christmas tree, but also the Harry Potter candles that you're talking about. Check it out.
So this is my new favorite decoration in the house. It comes with a wand, which is my favorite thing in the world. And all you have to do is say, Lumos. Hope you guys like that. But that's not the only thing I'm excited about. I'm sure you saw it in the video. We'll see what we do there probably. But we also are upgrading. We just are it's kind of time. You know, we've lived with the same things for quite a while, and we need a little upgrade.
In our home. Sure.
And so we're kind of upgrading our living room currently.
Yeah.
And so we bought a new couch and got a new rug.
Some of us are very excited about the couch.
I'm very excited about the couch.
Me
and
too.
Here's what I'll say. We did get made fun of a little bit by our couch this week, and it's totally cool. I understand. Not everybody's style is the same, and that's okay. If you don't like our couch, I don't really care. And yes, did I have certain requirements for our couch? Yes, I did. What were they? I wanted cup holders.
Yeah, you did.
And I wanted reclining chairs.
That is literally the only thing I care about.
Yeah, I wanted a little bit.
Put my feet up and kick back. That's all I care about.
I wanted something a little bit smaller than what we have. And here's the deal. It might not be these beautiful leather seats we have in this room, but we also have a stinking 8-year-old.
Yeah. Did I tell you, by the way?
Stuff everywhere, and who needs something comfy too. And I am very excited about it.
Did I tell you?
No.
First of all, very excited about the couch. My mom the other day, she goes, I was listening to your podcast, and you said I can, on the show, that people can watch it? I love you, Mom. Yeah, of course. We have a
Mom,
beautiful studio here, and we've got even more things that we're going to be incorporating into our set here.
Yeah, we're going to update it.
But I was like, yeah.
You can watch it on YouTube, Mom.
If it was just audio, boy, this would be a lot easier.
Oh, yeah.
But no, anyway. But yeah, so we are doing some different changes there. Very excited about it. The couches and chairs and stuff have not come in, but the Christmas stuff has gone up. In fact, it was really nice after my class last night. It's the last one, like I said, so everyone wanted to go out. So we did. And then I got home pretty late, like midnight-ish, and I opened the door to our place, and all the lights were off, because it's late, and Brooklyn and Kellie are sleeping. But the Christmas tree was on, and the Harry Potter lights were on, and literally, I was so surprised by it. I was like, oh, I had turned the light on, so I turned it back off. I was like, this is not as good. I got to turn it off.
Turn off the light.
It was such a pleasant surprise to walk into.
It looks so cute in there.
Yeah, I'm very excited about it.
We got a fancy Christmas tree where it has like 7 settings of the lights, one of which will give you seizures.
Yeah, we bought that last year after Christmas. For like on sale or whatever, and this was the first time we plugged it in.
It's
and
huge.
There is like a strobe light setting.
Yeah, I did it, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, don't look!"
Yeah. Oh, it's not great.
But
not great. Anyway, were those your 2 things?
Those are my 2 things. I'm pretty happy with this week. I'm sure there was more. I think we went to dinner with some people and different things like that. But I don't know.
This last week?
Yeah, I don't really. I feel like a lot happened this week.
Scott got sick. We're gonna go hang out with him. It was Halloween.
So we did Halloween with Brooklyn,
and we went out with Pete and Cater.
Yep. Nailed it.
Kate and Peter.
Yep. That was really good.
Oh, that was awesome. Well, real quick, because I don't want to bore or belabor anything, but Halloween, let's hit that real fast. We recorded in our Halloween costumes.
Yeah, for Brooklyn.
Well, not my Halloween costume, but a Halloween costume.
Oh, yes, we did do that.
Yeah. You're thinking of Brooklyn's podcast.
Yeah, her pseudo podcast that she has.
Nobody watches except for the family.
Yeah.
But it is still a 3-camera and 3-person podcast.
Yeah.
It's a labor of love.
But we did do Halloween. She was a Ravenclaw. It was so fun.
Yeah.
We went trick-or-treating. She got a ton of candy. She was with all of her school friends, which ended up being a blast for her.
Yep.
It was a great night.
Can I say this too? I just remembered when you were talking about Halloween, I wanted to give a shout out, and I'm so sorry I don't know the name of the organization, but here's how it worked. We all got together like with her class essentially, or a few people from her class, and we started walking down the block, and at the end of the block was a church. And they were having like a harvest festival or something like that. There was a lot of carnival games, fair games, that kind of stuff. Like, putt the golf ball or throw the ring on the milk bottles, all those kind of things, some inflatables, that kind of stuff. It wasn't by any means huge, but it was, a decent size, and it was fun for the kids. And we didn't know what to expect. We kind of walked in because everyone was going there. And I just want to give them a shout out. I'm so sorry I don't know your name, but I want to say it was cool to be at a church that was doing something for the sake of the community. Nobody ever charged us anything. Nobody asked us to buy a ticket to play a game. Nobody forced anything. It was just, it felt like a communal experience.
Yeah. And they gave out so much candy.
So much candy.
Every time Yeah,
and then Brooklyn was going down one of those bouncy slides like for a half hour. And she, while she was doing that, someone walked by and they're like, "Hey, we've got hot dogs here. If you want a hot dog for your lunch tomorrow, just grab one. Take 2.
Take hot dogs.
And it wasn't like, they're $1 there. And I understand. There's always, especially in religious churches, temples, mosques, synagogues, whatever. Like you're always trying to make some money to keep going.
Yeah.
But it was so nice to just be like, no, we're just here to like love on people and have a good time.
Yeah.
Like you don't have to pay. And I was like, that was a really neat experience for me. Not everything has to turn into a fundraiser, I guess is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And that was just it was lovely.
That's good.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it. Brooklyn enjoyed it. But yeah, busy week, I feel like.
Yeah, they've all been busy. Thankfully, this week is a little more chill. But let's get into the actual show.
I'm ready.
As if this isn't part of the show.
It is part of the show.
First thing, I have to follow up on some stuff. A couple weeks ago, it wasn't the Halloween episode, but it was before, and I don't remember the context because we've done a lot of these now. But you were talking about bones and something about like the perfect crime, the perfect murder weapon.
Yeah.
And you said it was an icicle because...
We weren't talking about bones.
But
We were
it
saying
came
perfect
up.
murder, and it's from a book where like an icicle falls on someone and kills them and no one knows.
Is that like Scary Stories in the Dark or whatever?
No. It was a big movie too that they put out based on a book. Do you not remember this?
No.
Yeah.
Anyway,
okay.
you had
I
said,
remember.
not me, because I disagreed. You said an icicle was a perfect murder weapon. And we talked about bones and talked about your future Bones podcast.
I know where you're going with this.
Okay, well, let me just tell you that Shelby let me know, and I'm going to pass it on to you, that a true Bones fan would know that blood makes a great bullet and ice cannot be shot out of a gun.
It's true.
I don't know what that means. What does that mean?
It's because there's an episode in Bones. This is going to be really nerdy for those of you that don't watch Bones and don't care. But there's an episode in Bones where Temperance Brennan, who's one of the main characters, gets shot with a blood bullet.
Terrible name, by the way.
Temperance?
Yeah. This isn't Bridgerton. This is a current show, right? In the current day. Someone's name is Temperance.
Yeah, I mean, her family was kind of weird.
Okay.
Yeah. What did I say? Temperance Brennan. Yeah, Dr. Brennan. But she gets shot with a blood bullet by...
Temperance Brennan sounds like a steak you order for breakfast. You're like, Temperance Brennan, medium rare.
What about Seeley Booth? Because that's her husband's name.
Come on. These are bad names, y'all. Yeah. Seeley?
Seeley.
Temperance, Seeley, Booth, Brennan. Go on.
Anyway, but she gets shot with a blood bullet. And she ends up in the hospital and she has a dream about her mom, or like not dream, but like her mom who died when she was young, all this stuff. But it was a whole big thing. She ended up getting shot by someone who worked in the antiquities department because he was like painting fakes and then selling them or something like that. Like famous paintings.
I'm already so bored.
But she got shot with a blood bullet, and when they had to give her a blood transfusion because she lost so much blood, they gave her the wrong type of blood, which almost killed her again because the blood that they had tested was from the blood bullet, not her actual blood. It was a whole big thing.
Yep.
So Shelby's right. It probably is the best way to kill someone. There's no evidence. I mean, but here's the deal. They can test your blood.
Okay.
If they think about it enough. But the truth is that the blood in the crime scene got cleaned up before they realized that it was someone's blood, so they couldn't actually test it because at that point in time it was in her body. And
all I know is that Shelby is a bigger Bones fan than you.
I mean, I just basically told you the whole episode.
I know, but she knew this, and you didn't even say it.
And I can even but I can even tell you that the whole thing at the end, she tells her dad, "You really threw me for a loop there." And that's what her mom used to say. She also tells her dad that her mom knew that the necklace, the first present he ever bought her, was stolen. And he said, nobody knew that.
Clearly, you know a lot about Bones.
I know a lot about
Not
Bones.
as much as Shelby knows. And that's why you're getting challenged right now, Shelby, to a Bones off.
Oh
no,
my
hold on.
God.
Bone off? We gotta probably workshop that name. A Bones bash? Trivia. Okay, we'll work on it.
Oh my goodness.
We'll work on it. Hey,
that was a lot of information about Bones that no one cares about.
Yes, tune in for the after show, Bones After Dark. That's not good either.
Yeah, but if you like Bones, let me know because we can have a marathon together.
Well, that's a big commitment at 64 seasons.
When Hodgins has his big accident because no one wants to watch those anymore.
Spoilers.
Yeah, I didn't say what it was though.
It's a big accident.
This is a big accident.
It's like one of those Hell House accidents.
Oh my gosh.
That's a good callback. Remember, you can always hit us up on our socials. If you want to send in an unpopular opinion, a story, a comment, anything, hit us up on our socials. Instagram is Hardly Working Insta, or you can always hit us up via email, which is hardlyworkingfans@gmail.
Yes.
And you too could be featured on next week's episode or other episodes, really. Yeah, we don't have any rules because we're in charge. Who let that happen?
Yes.
But speaking of, if you're wondering what happened to Unpopular Opinions, not on the show, but like, did I miss the voting? You may have, because we have moved it officially to our actual Instagram. So it used to be on my Instagram, Sean Patrick DJ, but now it is at Hardly Working Insta. That's Hardly Working Insta. Go check it out if you want to be current on the unpopular opinions that we're jumping into. That's it. That's where we are now. And we're gonna Kelly's been populating that more and more. And we're also going to try, we haven't talked about this, but I want to see what it's like to use that as kind of our main, almost like family channel. You know, when you and I are doing stuff together, posting it there.
Yeah, so you guys can see when we hardly work, when we work hard.
Yes, which is all the time because we're doing one of those
two
things always. Anyway, let's jump into just a few unpopular opinions this week.
Are you ready?
Want to get your thoughts. First one is this. A work wife / work husband is inappropriate, especially if you already have a partner.
No.
Yeah, so I think
I had a work husband.
You had many. You went through a lot of work relationships. I've been divorced, but you've really been married a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, I know.
I think you and I, pardon me, have a different perspective on this than probably most people.
Yeah.
But tell me why this is not that big of a deal for you.
I think boundaries are important, and I think I understand that you're calling this person like your work husband, but I think or work wife, but I think it just boils down to the person you spend the most time with and the person you have to trust. In the same way that like you and I have a level of trust and a level of bond that like I know you have my back in all things.
Yeah.
And it's an unspoken rule that like, if we happen to run into somebody or something happens, like you're never going to throw me under the bus and be like, well, that dumb lady did that. Like, you're my husband. You're never going to do that to me.
My life wife does that.
I meant like you and me as husband and wife, actual husband and wife.
Yeah.
Like we trust each other. We know each other. We help each other out. We have each other's backs. Like when I think about, there's more obviously in like an actual marriage, but like those are like, I think the core things. You communicate well, all that stuff. I think if you can take those things and put them into like what a work husband or work wife is, I think it's pretty similar. Like it's that person at work that you're like, yeah, we work the closest together. We understand each other. We have each other's back. We work together well to like accomplish whatever our goals are. And we're never going to throw the other person under the bus.
Yeah. Yeah.
I have had that a few times, but my best, I guess, work husband. I don't know how to say that better. I guess I shouldn't say best.
Hottest work husband, I think is the phrase.
That's your words, not mine. Just kidding. But the person that was like my work husband.
The best chemistry.
Yeah, was Lamar, who now like owns his own restaurant and all that stuff. And like we still talk, but
could have been your actual husband. There's a world in which you guys started dating.
It's like a multiverse.
Yeah, exactly.
Version of that. But
yeah,
but
Kelly C138
oh my God,
is
that's so
married.
funny. No, but we were really close, and we had our own problems. We had to sit in therapy with Mandy and Travis at some point in time.
Did you have to go to real therapy with him?
No, he did that with Alexa, but never with me. Not funny. They made them do that. Anyways, but I had to sit down with Mandy and Travis and do that with them, which was really good for us because we really butt heads and then we didn't. And it was the best working relationship with that I think I had. I mean, I had a great relationship with Mandy and Travis and Andy and everyone else I worked with too, Lindsay, Hannah, all of them. But Lamar and I had a special bond because we saw eye to eye. We had each other's backs. We were working towards the same goal. And we also complemented each other's strengths and weaknesses. And so we pulled and pushed each other, and we were aware of it too. Like I can't tell you how many times we would go to the other person and be like, hey, I know you're really good at this. So like, can you help me with this thing? Yeah. You know, here's the idea. Here's what I have, but can you X, Y, and Z? We would do it back and forth to each other. And it was incredible. And I mean, I'm getting into lots of stuff about my old work life, but like we were in a season at one point in time where we were increasing 33% in sales, like month to month. Yeah, wow. Which is an insane amount of increase month to month to month. And we were the ones who were responsible for adapting and ensuring that our team was set up for success and that we had the right structures and systems and things in place. And I think when you go through something like that, you do bond in a special way because you have to like, we were at the top of the food chain. Like we had to have each other's back, and 100 to 200 people were relying on us to make sure it happened for their job, to make their job easy. So all that to say, I think it can be really appropriate. I think that people can cross the line.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. Well, yeah, that's obvious.
Yeah. And it's happened. I mean, it happened at an old workplace of yours where, not with you, but with,
I was like,
where they announced from the stage that like,
yeah,
these people had an emotional affair and they worked together and that's like stepping over the line, right? Like you have to have good boundaries, but I think it can be really, really good. And I think it can be healthy. But I'm guessing that people did not think it was good. I don't actually know what the answer was to the unpopular opinion. I just think that it's not necessarily a bad thing.
I'll answer that question in a second.
I also had a work wife. That was Andy. She was my work wife.
Yeah, mine too. Do you think people have a problem with the term or the idea? Like, to say that someone is your spouse, work wife, or husband kind of implies a special type of relationship.
Yeah, I think people put too much value on titles. I think it's the same reason, what was it, Prop 8, why so many people were against or for whatever Prop 8 was, because marriage is between a man and a woman. And the word marriage is special to that. Right? Does that make sense? Like, that's what I think, which like is total BS. And like, you love to clarify,
you said that's what I think. You're not saying that's what you think about marriage.
I think people put a lot of value on a word, but I'm like, but you don't own the word, and it doesn't. Well, we're talking about marriage because that is like in the context of what we're talking about. But like, just because you think it's between a man and a woman doesn't mean that that's true. Yeah, it's just a word.
I agree,
and it means that you guys are in a committed relationship, and you're gonna like be together. I think love is love is love is love. Lin-Manuel Miranda said it best. You know, like you love who you love, and you can't change it. Yeah. And at the end of the day, why do we care so much about a word? It's semantics, like you said.
I'm telling you, like, people are obsessed with their own specialness. For sure. I have to have this, and you can't have it.
For sure. But I look at it and go, it's just a term. Yeah. Like, it's how you choose to define that relationship and what boundaries you choose to set that either make that term a positive or a negative thing for you, you know?
Yeah,
but it's just work wife, work husband, marriage. It's all just words.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I mean, it's a weird balance. There's power in words for sure. And at the same time, I agree that there is too much emphasis and importance put on certain words and concepts.
Yeah. And people think they own certain words that I'm like,
yeah, no, you
don't own anything.
No one owns words.
No.
Yeah, the older I've gotten, the less I've tried to label people, I guess. And that's why we talk about this frequently. I introduced you to Evie as my best friend, who I also happen to be married to.
Yeah.
Because if there's a label to me that makes more sense for you, it's not generally my wife.
Yeah.
I don't like that possessiveness of that.
Yeah, because I'm not your property. I'm your partner.
Yeah, and that's the thing. If it's a my anything, it's probably my partner, which implies choice. Like we're doing something together.
Yeah.
Or my best friend.
Yep.
And I just don't. I think when you grow up in a culture that is very fixated on black and white and right and wrong and labeling things as such, it is really hard to shed certain things. And you do develop a strong conviction for certain labels, which is why I think, to your point in your illustration about marriage, they're like, marriage is this. Yeah. It's like marriage is a word.
Yeah, and anyone can get married.
Yeah, or should be able to.
Should be able to get married.
Within reason. Shouldn't marry a 6-year-old, you know?
Yes.
And that is not what I'm not conflating the two things.
Yeah, anyone that has can make a choice should be able to choose who they want to marry.
Yeah, regardless, I think that's what it is. Yeah. It's
sexual orientation.
Yeah. Age of consent is the most important thing here.
Age to an extent, or like color. It doesn't matter. You should be able to marry whoever you want to marry.
I agree. And we've definitely digressed
We're off,
a bit.
Topic.
But so let me go back to answering the question that you had a second ago.
Yeah, because I answered,
So the actual statement, because I can't tell you if they agreed or disagreed, because I don't remember how it was phrased.
Well, let's see. What was the statement?
A work wife / husband is inappropriate, especially if you already have a partner. 83% agreed, 17% disagreed.
Y'all are crazy. Y'all need to have better communication. That's really mean, but it's true. You need to have better communication in your relationships. And here's the truth. We talk about this all the time, how we think we just communicate.
That's my turn, sorry.
Communicate. Like we think that's what, and not that we're special either, but we think that's what sets us apart from maybe previous relationships of ours and maybe other people as well. But like we just communicate all the time. You joked about it the other day. But you were like, we could have like 16 podcasts. We should put a GoPro in the car and like have another podcast in the car.
Yeah, we're probably going to do that.
We just talk all the time.
Yeah.
And I can think back to my Chick-fil-A days and think even after Lamar left, like there was Mark, who was on my team. I had a couple other people on my team that I worked with, David, you know, like Kevin, who was there for a short time as well. Travis, like all these people that I worked with, you never had a fear of anything, but I talked to you about it. I talked to you about everything. Yeah. So much so that even now, like Mark and I are still good friends. And I'm like, you're working New Year's, Mark, I'm probably gonna invite Mark to come and hang with me at Universal that day. Like we just are.
Someone's got to kiss you at midnight, you know?
I just winked at him.
Yeah, it's like for those listening.
Wink.
Kelly was like, yeah, is what she said.
No. But I do love Marky. He's great.
Of course.
But my point, I know you have to say, my point is like, we just communicate a lot about stuff. And I think that if you are communicating and actually talking, there is no fear.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, everyone's got their own baggage.
100%.
Based on the things that have happened to them, with them, in relationships.
That's what therapists are for.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely helpful.
Sorry.
Therapists are very helpful, but also so are healthy relationships and partnerships where you can lovingly help your partner come back from some of those insecurities. You know what I mean? And that's not generally the case. I think oftentimes that stuff is met with like, well, I'm not like him. I'm not like her. Like, why are you bringing that into this? I've never done anything for you to make you think this. Yeah. And so I get that it's tricky and everybody's different. In my experience, which I know is not everybody's, I think based on my relationships in the past versus my relationship currently with you, we've talked about it a little bit, but after we had gotten to know each other and then decided like, let's try dating, you already knew all my stuff.
Yeah.
You knew like the good, the bad, and the ugly. Mm-hmm. which in a lot of ways was great for me because I got to say like, well, yeah, you know this stuff, but like, how about this? And you're like, yeah, okay, cool. But, and vice versa.
Yeah.
To which I did not respond nearly as well to your stuff as you responded to mine, which I'm sure we'll talk about at some point, probably next season.
Yeah, you've grown a lot. So have I.
We both have, and that's awesome. But since we started from a place of like, let's just put everything out there, it's given us so much more freedom and confidence to bring it back to what we're talking about. Like, I don't think we have as much to worry / wonder about.
Yeah.
Because we kind of have it all. And obviously we have a lot of inherent trust built in, the two of us.
Yeah.
But I don't think most people have that luxury. I think most people are like best foot forward, and I don't want to bring up my crap and garbage and baggage because like, what if they don't like that? Or what if, you know, they think I'm stupid for whatever the reasons are. So I feel fortunate that you and I got a lot of the hard stuff out of the way at the beginning. And now there's just a lot of, if you can forgive an old term, a lot of freedom in our life.
Yeah.
Have I ever had a work wife?
I think Tara is like the closest thing I've ever had to like a work wife.
I think, well, it's funny because like Lamar.
Or Jen.
Like, Tara is great. Tara is like one of the most important people in my life. And if you hear this, thank you for everything that you do. I love you and appreciate you so much. I had a pseudo work wife when I had a real job.
Yeah.
Like I would say when I worked at the church,
then
I don't want to say number 2 as in a hierarchy, but like the person
your
that
right-hand woman.
Yeah, was incredible. And we could do, you know, any task. Well, not even just together. Like she always got stuff done.
Yeah.
She's incredible. We didn't call each other work wives or husbands.
It'd be very inappropriate at the church.
Very 83% inappropriate or whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I don't think I have those anymore, but
yeah, I think it's hard to have that in the business that you're in. But I think you have people that you are close to. I think the difference between us is like, and we can talk about, we're uniquely qualified to talk about it because, well, especially you, because we lived in that world. It's like when you're in the church, especially when you're working for the church, like you do not have conversations through text message or one-on-one with someone of the opposite gender unless there's a third.
Yeah, we talked about that for sure. Yeah, weird boundaries. Yeah,
but it's like, but with us, it's different now. Like, I don't care if you text Tara or Jen or Ramona or Michelle. I mean, you're not going to text them. You know what I mean? Or Madison, whoever it is that you're working for or with that day. Like, I'm like, cool. I don't want to be a part of it.
Yeah, just keep me out of it.
Put that chat on mute.
Yeah.
Like, I have my own stuff. I don't need that. In the same way, you don't need me to put you in text messages with anybody that I'm with. Troy or Peter.
I don't want to be in a text message with anybody.
Yeah.
Period.
Except for me.
Yeah, but I'm with you all the time.
That's true. But it's like that. I think so. That's the closest thing that you have to like a work wife now.
That's fair.
Anyways, all that to say.
Shout out to my sister wives though, Andy and Hannah.
Ooh, ooh. Love you.
Love you. Send our best to our daughter Ray, and let her know that her dad misses her so much.
Brave. She's well behaved.
All right, moving on. A lot of people. Oh, this is so funny. I should have just, you'll see. A lot of people accept mediocre marriages. It's the second one. Well, I mean, we've kind of hit on pieces of it, but let me just say
it's a theme today.
Right? Mediocre marriages. Hardly working.
Yeah.
Sponsored by Mediocre Marriages. So a lot of people accept mediocre marriages. This was split 53-47.
Okay.
53% of people agreeing. Yeah, I mean, we've kind of already hit on this a little bit.
Say the sentence again.
A lot of people accept mediocre marriages.
So you said it as if there was more coming, so I kept waiting for the other.
No, that's it. And to give you some examples, because I pull a lot of these unpopular opinions and then post them because I don't have this many unpopular opinions. The context for this was stuff like, when I'm talking to my friends or my relatives about like, frequency of intimacy, like should be at least once a week. Date nights should be 1 to 4 times a month. It's always met with, I mean, that's not really reasonable or realistic. And I understand. So that's the context. And I understand that for a lot of people, 4 date nights a month isn't realistic.
Yeah.
But also,
what defines a date night?
We were just having that conversation. Because
I don't want to cut you off. Sorry.
no, it's all good. I mean, we can just go straight into that. I was giving you a little context for what they were talking about. But what is a date night? We talked about that on Sunday when we were going out to Groundlings. We were like, for most people, going out to a comedy show is probably a date. For most people, going out to dinner is probably a date night.
Yeah.
And I don't know what makes a date night for any given couple or person. But we were talking about how so much of what we do could be considered dates. Why don't we just shift our perspective a little bit? To be like, let's have fun like this is a date, not an obligation or whatever.
Because we date each other every day.
Oh, that's so true, honestly. It's stupid to say, or it sounds, it's cliche.
Yeah.
But we do. We do a lot of that kind of stuff. But if the premise here is a lot of people accept mediocre marriages, I could easily replace marriages with relationships.
True.
And maybe see it through that filter a little bit. And I do agree.
I do as well.
I think many people are in relationships that don't make sense or aren't the right fit for them.
Yes. And in fairness, this is what I will say, is I think that the way our society is right now, I have a couple of thoughts on this. But number one, I don't think that media gives a good representation of what a good, healthy marriage looks like.
Sure.
I think it's either too far to either side.
Yeah.
And the reality of it is it's not someone yelling at you all the time, which I think people know like that's bad, but it's also never going to be perfect. Like it's somewhere in the middle. And we don't talk enough about like like communication or the work you put in and all of that stuff to like get to know each other. That's truly what it is. It shouldn't be working to make your relationship work. Does that make sense? It's working to understand the other person and how you guys communicate.
That was literally an unpopular opinion from one of the first episodes.
I know.
Like it shouldn't feel like work.
Yeah, but you should be trying to get to know the other person and how the other person works. But the goal would be that happens prior to you getting married. That like, yes, we communicate the same way, we speak the same language. And
I realized
I had another thought, but I don't remember it right now.
I'm sure it'll come back. During Halloween, actually, we were talking to a lovely couple, very kind, funny, and fun, a bit older than us. For context, we have an 8-year-old, but every time someone finds out we have an 8-year-old, they're like, what, an 8-year-old? This couple has an 8-year-old, but also has a 25-year-old, so a bit older. And I'll spare you how we got there, but one of the things I was talking to them about was, me realizing that everyone talks about how communication is key, but really what we've learned is it's not just communication, it's comprehension that's key.
Yeah.
And then the wife starts cracking up laughing, just real big belly laughs, and gives her husband like a smack on the shoulder, and he's like, oh, okay, I know. And it just, first of all, I'm saying nothing about their relationship.
Yeah.
Just that they've been together much longer than we have. And even those things that for us, we take for granted, like, yeah, of course, it's not just about what we're saying or how you say it. It's like, are you listening, hearing it, and then responding appropriately? That's what comprehension is.
Yeah.
And to see a couple that's much further along than we are be like, see, that's important is encouraging for me, but also lets me realize that some of the stuff that we're good at isn't the norm. And some of the stuff we're bad at isn't the norm either.
Yeah.
But I would agree that most people, especially if you're not willing to put in the quote unquote work, whatever you want to call it, it's tricky. Effort. Yeah. It's tricky to do life with another person.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people believe that we were designed to do life with another person. I don't think that's true. I think it's a wonderful way to do life and a privilege to get to do it if you can.
Yes.
But I will tell you, it is better. It is so much better. And if you're listening to this and you're in the midst of the painful loneliness of being single, this is not going to make sense. But I'm telling you, it is so much better to be single than to be married to the wrong person.
Yeah.
It is so much better in the moment. It is so much better for the months, years, even decades sometimes after that. It is so much better to be dealing with and getting through the loneliness of being single rather than trying to live a life pushing two puzzle pieces together that don't fit.
Yeah.
So I wish more people were happier in their relationships, and maybe they are. Maybe we're just totally not on the right page. But it's just not been my experience as a person who spent most of his life in couples life groups, in places where relationships are talked about a lot.
Yep.
And even looking at, honestly, just the people around me, friends, family, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Most people, here's a great example, and then I'll stop talking. When I got married the first time,
Not to me.
Not to you. When you and I got married the first time.
No. Just for those listening. Just in case
when I got married the first time to Brooklyn's mom, I remember saying, like, I'm a little worried about this because I don't feel like I have any great role models of what a healthy, happy marriage looks like. All of my parents are divorced, living or dead. They're divorced. I didn't have anyone in my church circles or anything where I was like, that's great. I had people that I love. So if you're listening to this and you're in my circles, it's not what I mean. But maybe you were in a much different life stage or whatever it was. So I was worried that I didn't know how to do that. It took me going through that marriage and relationship to realize a lot of things, including what I had just said a second ago about it's, better to be single than to be married to someone who you don't work together. But I used to be worried about, I'm trying to get back to my thought here. I think I lost it. I used to be worried about not being good enough to be that person. And now we're married. I forgot where we were going.
So in my first marriage.
Yeah, I know. I got so distracted getting sad about my first marriage.
It's okay.
It's more like this, is that I don't know that a lot of people have good examples of what that looks like.
Yeah.
Or even an opportunity or a forum to talk about the challenging stuff. I think that's one of the biggest things. I used to work with middle schoolers. It's one of my favorite age groups. And there was this, what I would always call the end of the world syndrome.
Yeah.
Which is like some of these feelings and experiences are so new and so big and they feel so important. And it is the end of the world. I like this girl. They like my best friend. They don't like me. It's the end of the world. Sometimes even as adults, it feels like that, especially if you don't feel confident that you can talk to people about what's going on or what feels wrong or is this wrong? Am I making too big of a deal about it? I'll save that thought. But I think that is an important, is something that's lacking. And I think that even in a relationship that has a lot of tension or friction, if you have an opportunity in a healthy way to work through some of those things, you can have a great relationship. I don't think that two people that don't get along or don't have a good relationship or marriage shouldn't be together or can't be together. But you do have to be willing to put your ego aside and either ask for help or most of the time just apologize to your partner for whatever it is that you're bringing to the table and let them know what you're going to change to make it better.
And actually do the work to make the change.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Well, and I'll say that, sorry, to kind of piggyback on what you said not enough people have like good examples and all of that stuff. I would say, and I think even more so in the culture that we are, take the media out of it. I mean, the media is a part of it, but like we've seen more couples consciously uncouple in the last like 5 years than I think we've ever had. So it's almost a way out instead of having to work on your problems or work to make sure you like choose the right person the first time. It's like, well, if it doesn't work out, we can just consciously uncouple eventually.
Yeah, I see both sides of that. I mean, for me, consciously uncoupling is just a nice way to say, I don't want to be with this person. Yeah. Which is also fair.
Totally fair.
I mean, if either of us had to be married to any person we dated forever, like you'd be like, it's a learning experience.
Uncouple, yeah.
And sometimes, like for me, I was married and that turned into a learning experience for me. So yeah, it's tricky and you got to do the work if you want to make it through.
Yep.
I got one more for you.
Okay, I'm ready.
This one might be a quicker one.
I'm listening.
The phrase "someone has it worse" is counterproductive.
Is there any context to that?
There's not much.
The grass is always greener.
But I'll give you more context. I think it is in light of that. Kind of, we were talking about it a few weeks ago. I think it was like, it was something, I can't remember exactly what it was, but it was in this vein. The idea is like, hey, I know like it's really hard.
Somebody has it worse.
Yeah, someone
it's
has
5
it
o'clock
worse.
somewhere.
That's different. That's better.
Send your food up to
Africa. Yeah. But someone has it worse is counterproductive to actually being helpful to someone who's like struggling through something.
I think it's 50-50. I think sometimes people need...
That's not what the ratio was.
Okay. I would say I think sometimes people need the perspective to be like, what you're feeling right now isn't the end of the world, but I think it's dependent on that. If someone's parent died and you're like, somebody has it worse, I don't know that that's the right thing to do or right thing to say to somebody.
Yeah.
But if someone's like, today's like the worst day ever because I failed, I'm thinking of our kid. I failed my math test and this spelling test is really hard, like whatever. Like somebody has it worse though. Like it's not that bad.
Yeah, you know what's interesting? Sorry, I'm sorry.
I guess I put everything in terms of Brooklyn. Not that she's actually done any of those things, but I always think like kids can make things the end of the world quite easily, and then overdramatic adults can do the same thing when it's like, it's not a big deal.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think that is the weird way of saying, like, it's not that big of a deal. Like, it could be worse, is what you just said. Is someone has it worse, is like and it's not necessarily unkind. It just isn't. The sentiment is good. The way you're saying it isn't great.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Okay. I'm going to see if I can get all 50 of my thoughts out here. Ram Dass talks about this, where essentially he says, like, no one has the moil. Boy, it's one of those days. Guys, I'm running off a few hours of sleep.
Yeah.
My hair looks terrible, but we are here.
You look great,
in the early morning hours.
I like the way you look.
I guarantee
And
it.
this isn't even a men's warehouse.
So Ram Dass talks about no one has the moral high ground, hence moral high ground to tell anyone how they should go through their suffering. The examples he gives is like, if someone is suffering and they think they need a new car, you have no moral high ground to tell them no.
Yeah.
Get a car. For me, it falls into what our philosophy on life, which is truth finds you when you're ready.
Yep.
Sometimes you got to buy an expensive car to go, I'm an idiot.
I shouldn't have done that. Yeah.
And he goes on to say, he's like, and it feels good until that first weird clunk sound or the first car payment comes in, and then it magically goes away. But it's no one has the moral high ground to tell you how you should suffer.
Yeah. That's fair.
With that in mind, this idea or this phrase, like someone has it worse, I'm sure I've said that to people. But I don't think it's my position to say that to someone, mostly not just because of the moral high ground or whatever, but mostly because they're not going to hear that.
Yeah, truth finding
Like,
when you're ready.
yeah, that's true. But also that person probably is like, I'm telling you this because I'm hurting.
Yeah.
Not for you to be like, I know you're hurting, but like,
Yeah.
could be worse.
People normally can't hear that stuff until you acknowledge their hurt and what they're going through first. And then it kind of gives them the freedom to maybe ask for advice, and you can say like, man, I know that failing your math test was really hard and that really sucks, and I'm really, really sorry. And then they can be like, I know. And then you can be like, but in the grand scheme of things,
Right.
you know, it's something we can improve on, and it's not the end of the world. Because you failed one math test doesn't mean you're going to fail your way through college.
Hopefully. Two thoughts on that. First, I'm so scatterbrained today. I'm so sorry.
I am as well. It's because of Gwendolyn.
Gwendolyn the spider that's in our bedroom somewhere. It's for another episode. Halloween's over, but there's still a spider in our room. So I wouldn't say someone has it worse to somebody else, but I do say that to myself. Like in the sense of, I don't say that phrase, but I am a huge proponent for refocus, recenter, pull yourself together.
Yeah.
Shift your perspective, put things in perspective, so to speak. And that is, to me personally, not someone has it worse, like at least someone else is less happy than me.
Yeah.
But I mean, I kind of go like, boy, it could be worse, huh?
Yeah.
And when I can do that, when I'm like, I have through the roof anxiety to the point of heart palpitations because I have to go do this specific work thing.
Yeah.
Then I just, all I got to do is like open my eyes or look at the news and be like, oh, this person just lost so-and-so in their life to X, Y, or Z thing.
Yeah.
Not to get too specific, obviously. And then I go like, oh, well, it's not, I don't have it so hard. And so I do that a lot, but I don't feel like it's appropriate for me to put that onto other people.
Yeah.
Because that's not necessarily what they need or what they're going to hear. And the second thing, yay, I did it. And then it goes away. The second thing is what I'll say is if you're in conflict with your partner in a relationship and you want to get your feelings heard and your needs met, the fastest way to do that is to listen to and meet the needs of your partner.
Truth.
It is counterintuitive. You have to put your ego aside because it's probably their fault and they're not listening. And I shouldn't even be giving them the time of day. But if you want your needs to be met, meet their needs first. And then if they don't offer it, give them an opportunity. And if they're not listening, ask them to say, do you hear what I'm saying? Can you help me understand what you think I'm saying? Yeah. But the easiest way, meet their needs first.
Yep.
If you can find the humility to do it, then I guarantee it will be better. You'll have a better time getting your needs met than you would have if you had not done that.
You do that better than me.
I'm just a manipulator at heart.
No.
I only take care of you, so you'll take care of me.
No. But you are better at coming and being like, I'm really sorry. Like, I shouldn't have said that, and that was mean, or whatever it is. And then I'll be like, I love love you. I'm so sorry too. But if you don't say that to me, I'm like, "Arr,
Yeah. Well, I've learned.
don't touch me, but touch me.
I know. I need to be touched, but not by you.
But by you.
But by you.
It's a very weird.
No.
Hug me, but don't.
But thank you for saying that. You've said that to me before. I do think that I am good with my apologies. Not good at apologies, but like when I realize that I've dropped the ball,
Yeah.
I do get very specific about how I'm perceiving how I dropped the ball. I think it was this, and this, which I should have done better.
Yeah.
And I'm going to work on this, and this in order to try to make sure that doesn't happen again.
Yeah, you always come to me first, I feel like, when we do get in conflict, which isn't very often. And I'm not just saying that because we're on a podcast, but I mean it. Because normally we just have discussions and we talk about stuff.
Yeah.
But in the times where like feelings have been hurt, you are the one who is better at that. Because I just kind of shut down and go do my own thing.
I'll tell you when it happens typically. It happens when there's another person in the mix that is contributing to the difficulty of a situation.
Yeah.
It's when your kid has a meltdown doing addition and subtraction, and then there's tension because one parent is trying to help and the other parent is backseat helping, being like, just carry the one. And you're like, I've got it. You're making it worse.
Stop.
That's when the conflict happens. That's what it is, typically. Yes. And I'll be like, I'm sorry. I should have let you do math. I'm so bad at math.
I was a training director. I got this.
Exactly.
I'm just kidding.
Exactly.
Mask, what did people say to that?
Oh, yes. Great question. The phrase, someone has it worse, is counterproductive. 78% agreed, 22% disagreed.
Yeah, right.
I can't remember what it was before that we talked about, but it was something like, there's a light at the end of the tunnel, or like, keep pushing through, or there was something that was, I remember my sister and I talked about it, and it was like, yeah, we have to stop saying this thing for exactly the same reason. So yeah, 78% agreed, 22% disagreed. Let's keep moving. We've got a little bit of time left, and I know that you didn't bring a game today.
I did not bring a game.
You know, it has been a more introspective episode.
I know, it's kind of funny how that works sometimes.
Which is cool because we're talking through what season 3 is going to be looking like and how we'll be making some different changes and additions based on some feedback that we're getting from many of you.
I did not turn the fan on today.
I'll turn it right now as soon as you start. I will turn it on. But yeah, so I like that it's a bit introspective. So what do you got for me?
Yeah, so I am starting a new segment called Hardly Working Through It.
Oh.
Hardly Working Through It.
You took my name.
I did take your name. It is his name, but I took it. Hardly Working Through It. And I have some questions for you, just asking. We'll see how many we get through. It might just be the one for today. I had a couple questions I was going to lead in with, but since we've been talking about mostly relationships, I figured why not? So
perfect segue. I have not heard any of these questions.
Yes. So
you said that with a lot of confidence.
But I did tell you that it would be a question about your divorce. And
you did. And she asked, she said, do you want me to tell you now? And I said, if you tell me now, you know I'm just going to talk about it now. So save it for the show.
Yeah. So this is my question because I'm just curious.
Are we going in with that one? We're coming in hot?
Yeah. Yeah.
Hit me with your best shot.
And then I have some other questions too, which might actually blend together well. But my question for you is this: what's something you wish you would have done differently during your divorce process? So once you'd separated from your ex and knew like this isn't what I want to do anymore. That's not a great way of saying that, but you knew you guys were going to get a divorce. Like, what's something you wish you would have done differently?
Something that I wish. So it's tricky because my head has to separate what I think I could have done differently versus what I wish was different. That's out of my control. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Because there's a lot that I wish didn't happen or was different.
We'll get there too. But what do you wish you could have done? Or do you not think you should have done anything differently? It could be either or. It doesn't have to. You don't have to find an answer if there isn't one there.
Boy, oh boy. No, there's an answer. I'm going to pull back the curtain a little bit in terms of the show that we're doing right now. Pardon me. Kelly and I have been talking about getting into more of this stuff in season 3, kind of our own personal stories and history and that kind of stuff. And we've held off a bit because a lot of people enjoy the humor of the show, and I tend to lean towards humor. And we're like, I don't know if people will listen. But as we move forward, heading into season 3, we'll likely be digging into a lot of my personal history, your personal history, all that kind of stuff. So we'll say things, at least I'll say things today because I know what my answer is going to be here, that I'm sure I'll reiterate in season 3 and moving forward. But without much prep. My answer to what I wish would have been different needs a little bit of context, but essentially, in a preface here, only half of this is my story to tell.
For sure.
The other half is Brooklyn's mom's story to tell.
Of course.
And I can guess what that story is, but she and I have been divorced and separated for like 7 years, and we haven't talked about the specifics of this. But it's never my intention to tell her story. I only have what I have.
Yeah.
So when it comes to things that I wish I would have done differently, I think I couldn't have known it in the moment, but I realize it now, is that I wish I would have figured out how to communicate what was going on to the outside world in a different way. Let me explain. I don't know how specific to get here. When her name's Whitney, which we've talked about on the show, lovely person. We ran into her at Starbucks, chatted for 10, 15 minutes about our kids. Yeah. She's great. Great person. We weren't great for each other, but great person. And I think that's a really important thing. Just because a person isn't right for you doesn't mean they're a bad person. They're just not the right person for you.
Yeah, that's okay.
Anyway, when we did initially split, she and I took very different routes in terms of figuring out the next steps. My understanding, based on all of the text, phone calls, and coffee dates I had to have, was that what she did was go to many people in our life to tell them what's happening, which is totally reasonable and fair. I went to only 2 people, which was my mother, because that's where I ended up the night when it happened. And I kind of have to explain why I'm here. And then a really, really close friend of mine named Craig. Craig and his wife, Christine. And I told them what happened, but that was it. Because I didn't have a plan. I didn't know what the next steps would be. All I knew is that chapter of my life had to, I don't know if I want to say come to an end, because really what it feels like is I knew that it had to change. I knew there had to be a change. But that was as far as I got. In fact, Whitney and I, we split either September or October of whatever year that was, and we were still going to couples therapy at least until December of that year. So like 2-3 months of that. So I didn't know, like, would we work it out? Is it possible? What? But I did know that I didn't want everybody to know what was going on.
Yeah.
All of that lead in to say, I ended up waiting a year before publicly really talking about it, or even, finalizing the paperwork and that kind of stuff. A whole year. And a lot of people still didn't know. And so as they found out, it was like every meeting was like,
they wanted to rehash what went on and talk you through, but you'd already had the conversation, like 25 million times?
Exactly. And to be fair for everybody, that was the first time that a lot of these people were hearing about it. So they were going through their mourning and grieving process as well, which, fair or not, everybody's entitled to their process. Just when you only have 2 people getting divorced and you have 1,500 people that want to talk about it for the first time, it sucks to be one of those 2 people. And that's where I was. It kind of blew up in my face because I chose to keep it so quiet. And really the reason I went public with it was because I was tired of having those conversations, tired of running into people. And because here's the deal too, is like so many people feel entitled to people's personal lives.
Yeah.
Who is really entitled to, like, if you were in a marriage that ended, did you have to go to everybody you ever knew to tell them?
No.
Yeah. But everyone wants to know. And so I ended up putting kind of a blanket like post up that's like, hey, here I am a year into this. This is where I'm at. And that was like the worst choice I could have made. I don't know how I could have done it better necessarily.
Yeah, I have some
but
thoughts.
The backlash from that was very, very detrimental to me as a person, to me mentally and emotionally. And I think quite a few people took the opportunity to shoot their shot in a really hurtful and harmful way.
Yeah.
That had little to no implications on them in their lives, but really had a lot of negative impact on mine. And I know those same people are going to be like, well, the negative impact you have on your family. Like, I get that you have your opinions, but keep it to yourself because you've got your own family to figure out. I've got my own life and family to figure out. Yeah. Obviously, we're all hurting.
Yeah.
No one needs your, hateful, hurtful comments. Yeah. Anyway, so if I could change anything, I probably would have changed. If I could change anything, starting from I know that we're separating moving forward, I probably would have liked to have figured out how to have maneuvered that first year in a better way.
Okay. Yeah. To just say what you said, to talk about what you just talked about. We say this a lot, and I wish more people had an understanding of this or had heard this, but we ask ourselves the question a lot, like, is it wrong?
Yeah, if something's bothering us.
Yeah, is it wrong or is it just not my preference? And if it's not my preference, it's not my business. Yeah. Like, is someone physically hurting someone else or doing something that's illegal, then I can say something and should get involved, but is it just not my preference? And a lot of those, we've talked about everything, so I know.
You know everything.
Obviously, I know the whole story and everything like that, but we've talked about that quite a bit of there were people that it's interesting. Because I do remember that post. We were friends on Facebook. I remember that post. But it's interesting, even as we've talked about it in the past, a lot of people were very supportive of that post initially. And then you had the sprinkle of people that, for better or for worse, were Whitney's friends who were just trying to protect her and just in whatever way they thought was right. Or maybe were friends of both viewers together. I'm not sure. Who then sprinkled in some hate of whatever they said. Yeah. That I think really started then the change of people going from positive to oh, hope you're doing okay, to people being you should fix this and you can and blah, 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 blah. Having their 2 cents or wanting to get coffee or all of that stuff. Yeah. And even a bigger part of that for me, which I personally struggle with, which we can get into or not get into now, but it's your story to tell, but. Is the abusive church power that came in the midst of that as well. That really rubbed me the wrong way when we talked about it. And I've seen in my life multiple times. And it's a big reason why I struggle with the church's 4 walls is because I do think that abusive power is real. Yeah. And for those at home, we're not going to talk about any names or anything like that, but to have someone reach out to you and say, if you continue to paint this narrative, which I don't even think there was a narrative set. I think you were just talking about how it's been a year and this is where you're at. If you continue to keep this narrative, then I will announce from the stage my version of your narrative and make sure everyone knows what it is. I think that's an abuse of power, and I don't think that that's okay. And I don't think that there's a lot here and I can't change. I have a lot of thoughts and I hope you don't feel offended. I hope you know that I love you with all of my heart.
Stick around for season 3 where we really get into this.
I hope I know that I love you so much. Of course. I think it's interesting that that's the thing that you chose to be different, because I remember that us talking about that and look at that and go I don't think you could have done that any better. And I don't think any of that stuff has to do with you. I think it has to do with egotistical people and people that wanted to abuse their power within a church system. And I think that that's broken and that's wrong and that isn't okay. And I think it's people like that truly turn people away from whatever religion it is, whether it's Jesus or Buddha or whatever, it doesn't matter. I think it's people like that really force people to take a step back and be I don't know if this is for me, because it's not, we're getting into religious-y stuff here now, but it's not God that hurts people, it's people that hurt people. Yeah. And not just hurt people. People are just mean and think that they can say and do whatever they want in the name of Jesus or in the name of whatever. I say that because that's my upbringing, right? Is in the church. Yeah. But I really disagree with a lot of the people that chose to speak into your life in certain ways, particularly that one person that threatened to share
all the stuff you said.
Yeah. It's an abuse of power. And it really irks me and makes me really upset. And we'll talk about this later in a different episode, but I've experienced that personally in my life. And it's a big part of my story.
Absolutely.
And anyways.
Yeah. I mean, there's no shortage of people abusing their power in the world. We saw it in entertainment, the last few years with 100%. The Me Too movement.
Yeah.
And honestly, so much of it is men abusing their power and holding it over women. but also, usually men abusing their power with any gender, but usually it's men.
Yeah.
Not always, but usually men. The thing that was weird for me, everything you said was a difficult part of that season.
Yeah.
But also when you're talking about the people commenting on there, yes, there was the people who knew us. The harder stuff though, that was crappy because you're like, I thought, okay, whatever.
You've obviously taken a side, is what it was. It's like,
that was never fun.
I thought you cared about both of us, but obviously you've taken a different side.
A lot of those people just cared about right or wrong.
Yeah.
In their perception of what that was, sure. Which I get, especially when you're in a culture that sees pretty much everything as it's either right or it's wrong. It's not a maybe, it's a yes or no.
Yeah.
So I get it. What was even more surprising, and I don't know if it was more or less hurtful, but it was the strangers that I don't even really know and certainly didn't know me, like making sure they took their opportunity to get like a good jab in,
of course,
for no reason. These people are like pastors. The former pastor of the church that I worked at. So I didn't ever work there when this person was the pastor of the church. This is not anyone I've worked with. But that pastor somehow, who I'm not friends with, found that post and commented on some really insensitive, inappropriate things on there.
Yeah.
And then just left. It's just
Peace,
they're like, here to heap some coals on your head,
yeah.
as the scriptures would say. Except you're supposed to do that with kindness, which is another weird thing. We shouldn't be hurting people even with kindness.
Yeah.
Anyway, but yeah, it's surprising to me that it's surprising to you that I wouldn't change that. I think it's because that was the way that I chose to keep things quiet about that. Whether that was right or wrong, I mean, it's not right or wrong. Whether I should or shouldn't have done that, I don't know. But everything stems from that decision. I don't know that I would have changed it because I never wanted to drag when I say ours, I mean Whitney and our dirty laundry,
of course,
or throw anyone under the bus. It's never been my heart or intention.
She's still Brooklyn's mom and someone that we care about collectively.
Yeah, and to the four of our credit, all four parents, I think I can only speak for myself, but I think the fact that I didn't go out and be like, here's everything.
Yeah, I think it's good.
Well, I think it's a testament to why we're all able to function as, four parents right now.
Yeah.
Because had I gone out and been like, everybody listen to everything, one, I would have personally felt like that was inappropriate. Two, I don't know that you come back from that in terms of, people and relationally come back from that.
Yeah. It is surprising that we've been able to be okay for now. And I think that's a testament to you and the fact that you're able to kind of let your ego go and choose. Like you have no desire to dig into what people said and what was spread around your old stomping grounds per se. You've just kind of let it go. And even now, like we were with one of our friends at dinner a couple weeks ago who
this was weird.
She's a little bit younger than us, but
I don't know what you're talking about. Go on.
But in the same vicinity, like you were one of her leaders, I think.
Oh yeah, okay.
At some point in time, and even hearing her talk about like I was off at college and like my dad was telling me stuff. I was hearing stuff about this and was like, I'm like not even in that realm right now. Like, why am I hearing about this? I was like, it was a really weird thing to hear, but it is weird to think, and this is not a knock on anyone. It's just interesting. It's weird to think that you were able to kind of get over that and get through that and still haven't been like, well, tell me what they said, or like, what were people saying about me?
Yeah.
Or
the truth is I don't want to know that stuff.
Me either.
Yeah.
I mean,
I've spent there's always a curiosity.
Yeah.
But I've spent so many years trying to get over that.
Yeah.
My guess is the perception for many people is not that like I've struggled to get through what's happened. It's probably like he just up and left, which whatever truth is truth. But for me, the truth is that I really struggled with it and spent not only years getting through it, but years talking to different therapists about it and trying to get to a healthier mental place and space in terms of that stuff.
Yeah.
So one of my least favorite things, and this is a bit vulnerable in the sense that it could be used against me later, but one of my least favorite things is hearing people say like, oh, like what you just described.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I heard about it in college, or even recently we were hanging out with a friend who was like, yeah, full disclosure, I'm very close with these two people who still work at the organization I worked at. And I think he was like, you guys have never come up or whatever, which is great. But anytime that starts to happen, I'm just not the person who wants to hear it. I don't want to think about people thinking about me in that way.
Yeah.
Or talking about me. So I do try to stay away from it because there's still a part of me that could spiral.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. And it's interesting because I am someone that does like to hear the tea per se, not always, but like I like to be aware of what people have said about me. So I'm ready to combat it. And like, I know that that's who I am. But it is interesting because I look at you and even myself, we're talking about you in this moment. And I think to myself, like, you're not the same person you were 7 years ago or whatever, how long ago when you and Whitney split. You're not the same person you were 10 years ago when you like chose to like go into the entertainment industry. Like you are somebody different. And I think that the piece of this that really sucks for me is that because of the big fish in a little pond syndrome that you were, because of choices that were made by people and how they chose to share different pieces of your story, whether it was theirs to share or not, like people have perceived you and myself in a way that like we have no control over. Sure. And even though you are not the same person you were 7 years ago, unfortunately it's scary. It's, at least for me, it's scary and weird sometimes to run into people from that era or that I know knew you then, because I go like, oh, they've frozen you in time.
Yeah. Yeah.
And been like, he's going to be that same person. And this is her or whatever. Like they never give the freedom or the, opportunity to be able to say, oh, these people have grown. Right. And not just you, but Whitney too. Like Whitney's happily married now and like has like a job that I think she loves, that she talks about. Like she's grown too and is a different person and probably wouldn't and doesn't want to talk about you and your relationship from 7 years ago. Yeah. Do you know what I mean?
Just like none of us want to talk about our relationships
our exes,
from 7 years. Yeah.
So I think it's interesting. Sorry to finish. I think it's an interesting thing that people choose to hold on to things and still be so upset, even though the two of you have moved past it. And like we all have co-parenting meetings and we do stuff together and we're our own little weird family in our own way. But like everyone's just frozen you in time.
I think that, I think everybody is a little bit wired to freeze people in time from the last time and place and space that they saw them. I saw it with people. Mm-hmm. So I think that's natural, good or bad. It's natural, normal. I think what you're talking about too, though, it's not exclusive to church culture. I think it's cancel culture. So normal culture, pop culture. You were talking about like when you free someone in time, you don't essentially give them the opportunity to have grown, shifted, changed. Yeah. You know me, I don't think that people fundamentally change who they are. Yeah. But I do think people can grow. I do think people can get better. I think between the culture that you're describing, as well as the, for lack of a more accurate term here, I'll call it the cancel culture, which is like, oh, you messed up. See ya. Like, bye. Yeah. There's no opportunity for mercy, grace, compassion, empathy, even forgiveness. And some people, I get it. Like, some people have gone so far that it's like, all right. Robert, my acting coach, was talking about it. He's like, the things I said in 8th grade, like I shouldn't be here talking to you. And then he goes, the things I said in week 2, I shouldn't be here talking. Yeah, it's so funny. Like everybody needs an opportunity to have a second shot. Most people need the opportunity for forgiveness. And remember, forgiveness is much more important for the person giving it than the person receiving it. It's true. So if you need to forgive somebody, get it off your chest.
Just do it.
You will benefit from that. But I agree. There's just not really an opportunity. There's not a culture of let's check in and see if it's any different. You know what I mean? It's just like, it's kind of a ostracize. It's like, remember that story we did a few weeks ago about the Amish community who like the cell phones went off during the test. Yeah. And so they were, They were shunned. They got shunned. It's a shun culture. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I understand it. I just wish there was more opportunity for people to be like, man, I dropped well, that's the thing too, is like, there has to be a heartfelt understanding. We talked about how I apologize. It's very specific because I want the person I'm apologizing to know that I'm not just like, oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, I've really thought this through and I see where I messed up. And if I haven't, maybe you can help me understand where I've messed up. Go ahead.
Do you feel, this is deep questions, and I know whatever.
Yeah. We'll wrap it up here soon.
Do you feel a need to apologize to Whitney?
I'm not sure if I have apologized to Whitney. I think that I have. She and I have such a long history.
Yeah.
I mean, we started dating over half of our lives ago.
15, right?
Yeah, yeah. And we're older now.
Yeah.
I don't want to throw out anybody's age. And I'd throw mine
56.
out. But yeah,
Just kidding.
56. Was your question, have I forgiven Whitney?
No, do you feel the need to apologize? Not forgive.
Sorry. I misspoke. Do I feel the need to apologize? Yeah.
And would you ever, I guess is my...
Yeah, absolutely. The thing is, like, there's been so much time that's gone by now with the two of us and also the four of us that it is a little bit like, haven't we moved past this?
Yeah.
But there's so many things that happen in people's lives, but specifically in my life, that give me more understanding for things that had happened in the past. You know, let me give some broad stroke examples that are not specific to me. Or to her, specifically, not specific to her. I'm saying sometimes you don't understand why something's happening in a relationship until you meet someone's parents.
Yes.
You see what I'm saying? You know, sometimes you don't know what's going on until you realize that, oh, so-and-so's fill in the blank died, or they have a certain condition, or they need to be on their medicine and decide not to take it. Fill in the blank with whatever it could be. Again, these are general examples. But when you live enough life and you start seeing more of the picture, it's you can't see the forest through the trees, right? Is when you're so zoomed in, you only have the information that you have. But when you zoom out, I think zooming out is the thing that helps with compassion and empathy.
Yeah.
I think traveling the world is the thing that makes you realize no matter what country you're in, they're like, we're the best and everyone else sucks. And you're like, yeah. And then you go other places and you're like, oh, other places are pretty cool.
Yeah.
Having
maybe
context.
cooler than we are,
Totally. Having context and zooming out gives you good perspective. I would happily have those conversations with her or with the four of us or whatever, if it felt like it was something that we wanted to do. Like I said, I think we've all kind of moved on. Yeah. We're all happily married and, you know, co-parenting and doing all that stuff. But for me, you know, there are things that I see that I obviously wish I could have done differently. Yeah. And it's hard to see it when you're in it. And it's hard to see it when you're hurting. It's easier to see it when you're in a healthier spot, to be like, when I said or did or didn't do this, that, or the other thing, I didn't realize how much that would hurt you until it happened to me. Yeah. And now I feel like, hey, I want to say I'm sorry because I didn't realize what that was doing to you or who I was to you when this was happening or whatever it is. Yeah. So yeah, there's definitely things that I'm not looking for opportunities to rehash stuff. Yeah, of course. But I would happily have those conversations because, you know, Whitney and John are important people in our life and they're people that we care about. Yeah. And they're important to Brooklyn. So yeah, there's definitely things that I would be happy to talk about, discuss, own up to, and move on from. Yeah, what else are you holding on to? And
just put a button on this whole topic, which thank you so much for coming to my talk.
Yeah, thanks for having me on your podcast.
Yeah, thank you so much for hardly working through it. No, I'm just kidding. But you know, we talked a lot about we started with like what do you wish is one thing you would have done different, but it really kind of turned into how people perceived you.
Sure.
If you could sum up in like a couple sentences, what is your wish for now? Like, how do you want the world or people to perceive you now? Like when you first meet them, or if people were listening to this podcast from a different life.
Oh yeah.
Like what is your hope when you meet people and all that stuff?
Let me answer your question with a question first.
Okay.
How different is the person that I present on this show versus the person that's in quote unquote real life?
It's like exactly the same.
Okay. That's how I feel too.
Yeah.
So if you're listening to this, watching this, with a few exceptions, you're getting me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Pretty much raw.
Yeah.
I mean, there's an entertainer piece to it.
100%. But he's also an entertainer at home.
Yeah, I can't turn it off. So is your question how I wish people would perceive me?
Yeah, or like, what is your hope? Like, one of the things I can say for you is I know this, and maybe this will help you understand my question more.
Sure.
But like, I know an important value to you is that people feel comfortable when they're around you. Like, that's something that you hold very high. So like, if you were to meet someone, or if you were like, people that are listening that knew me 7 years ago, some plus years ago, like, this is how I hope you perceive me now. This is the person that I am.
Yeah. What an interesting thought. Let me go broad and then see if I can get specific before we wrap up. We do have stories, but I think we'll hang on to them.
Yeah.
So for people who knew me, let's say 10 years ago versus now, it's interesting because I still get comments on our videos from like former students.
Yeah.
Or from stuff that I do, and they're like, from,
Yeah.
middle school church days to doing this, it's amazing.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of people who don't know like my personal life, but see what I'm doing. And that's cool when they have a good perspective on it. But I think the reality for me is that I'm working hard to care less about what people think.
Yeah.
It's one of my personal and professional pieces of my philosophy.
That's great.
So how do I wish people would perceive me? I honestly wish more people wouldn't perceive me at all. I wish that most people wouldn't have me on their mind. The entertainer goes, everyone should have me on their mind. I'm going to be everywhere. But the real part of me is like, I wish people just weren't thinking about me at all.
Yeah.
For the people who do want to know who I am, the people who listen or watch this podcast, who are a part of our life, I just hope they perceive me however I am to them. You mentioned people feeling comfortable, especially women feeling comfortable, is a really high value for me.
Yeah.
People feeling known, seen, cared for, and like they're the most important person in the room.
Yeah.
It's a huge value for me. So if I could hope that people would see me in a certain way, I hope they would see me as a person that cares about them. A big part of why we even do this show is for the people that we know that watch it, because maybe we don't talk all the time. Maybe you don't even know us, but for an hour or two every week, like, you've got a date with some friends. It's with me and with Cal, and I hope, my hope would be that people perceive us the way that we're presenting it, with the caveat that I started with, which was, can you agree that me on stage is the same off stage? So my hope is that people fall in love with who I or we are now, because that's truly who we are. Whether you think I'm successful or not, whether you think I've made the right decisions in my life or not, hey man, that's up to you. But I hope that you can feel important and loved and seen and known. And one of my biggest things that I got from 2020 or 2021 was a Ram Dass story. And you've heard it so many times, but it was of a dying monk, 83 years old. And one of his last words were, it took me almost 80 years to realize that most things are none of my business. That has been a game changer for me, for the way that I treat people, perceive people, think about what they're doing being right or wrong or good or bad. Most of this, it's just none of my business.
Yeah.
And I hope that whatever part of my business you want to bring into your life, I hope that it brings you joy and happiness and not frustration and anger.
Yeah.
So I know that's a weird roundabout way to answer that.
Yeah.
But I hope that people's perception of me or us is accurate, and whatever that needs to be for them.
There you have it. Thanks for coming on my show. I'm just kidding. No, seriously, thanks for being willing to answer my questions in our hardly working through it portion of this hardly working podcast.
I know you had more questions. I wish we had more time.
Hey, we have more podcasts.
We have, you know what?
Come back and join us
we've got a
next
couple
week.
more podcasts.
Yeah,
until
maybe.
eternity.
But yeah, anything you're looking forward to next week?
Yeah, like I said at the beginning, this week is more chill in terms of work.
Yeah.
And then next week we get back into working. Very grateful to have a little time off. There's one big thing happening.
Yes.
There's soccer practice. There's soccer games.
Yeah.
There's work to be done. There's podcasts.
But
there's murder mystery nights.
Dun dun dun.
This Saturday.
Oh my gosh.
I don't know what details I can
There's
give
a
out because
murder
it's not my
mystery.
party, but I will be attending. We've got our outfits.
Yep. It's a 1920s party.
Yeah, Shane. That's gonna be
Shane,
my
he's a
accent, I
gangster.
guess.
And I'm a flapper girl.
Flappers. Kelly's gonna look great. We'll post some photos. I'm sure we'll talk about it next week, and we'll throw some photos in there. But yeah, that's kind of the big thing for me.
Yeah, me too.
I'm also super, super, super excited that soccer is almost over. So that's exciting. Anything else for you that we didn't hit that you're looking forward to?
No, that's truly what I'm looking forward to is this week at least is the murder mystery party.
Mm-hmm.
I'm very excited. Well, we did it. Another one in the books.
Another one in the can. Boom. That's episode 206. I'm so excited. Thank you for bringing something new to the table. I appreciate it. I hope those of you watching and listening know we're always trying to keep things fresh. There's certain things that we want to put in, certain things we might want to take out of the rotation for the time being, some things permanently. But we're always trying to keep it fun, fresh, and another F word that I can't think of. It's got to be good.
And fancy.
Fast. I usually say and fancy. Fancy. I love it. But that's it for this week. I hope y'all enjoyed it. I love you.
I love you too. We hope you're having a great week. We hope that you are, if you're working hard, that you hardly work this weekend and that you looking forward to Thanksgiving. I have no idea.
You really nailed it. We always stick the landing on this show.
I don't stick the landing. But truly, I hope you know that you're valued and cared for and seen and known and heard, at least by us, even if we don't personally know you. We're here. We're your friends. We're in it. We both have that same value in us. Like, it's what we value, what we want people to know about us is that they feel valued. They feel seen, heard, and valued by us. Did that make sense?
It did.
So,
and I'll say, like, if any of you listening and watching were listening to the second half of this episode and it really struck a chord with you, not necessarily because it's divorce or whatever, but because it, pinged some of your hurts and your baggage. Yeah. I hope you know that that baggage is valid. Mm-hmm. It's an important part of your story. And whenever you're ready to take those bags and just put them down in the hallway for a bit to live a life that is lighter and full of joy, if you need permission, go do it. It's okay. Don't worry, that baggage will be there if you ever need to pick it up again. But live a life that makes you happy and live a life that loves other people well. Put more into the world than you're taking out. So if anything did resonate with you, hope you know that we love you. And like Kelly said, if nothing else, whether we've met or not, we're here for you every week, hanging out.
Yep.
And like Kelly said as well, no matter what you're doing, wherever you are, whenever you happen to be listening to this, whatever your week looks like, hope you spend most of your time hardly working. Okay, gotta go. Love you.
Love you. Bye.
Love you guys. Bye.